Hello and welcome back to the Bring Your Big Energy podcast, season 4, the Fierce edition. We are so excited. I'm so excited about today's guest, Candice. It's good to have you on the show today.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Thanks. All right, audience, today's question. What if the life that you thought you wanted was actually the beginning of the life you were meant to build? What if success wasn't measured by promotions and stocks and grants and titles? And what if success was actually building what you're incredibly proud of while creating a life that you're so excited to wake up to every single day? So I think so many of us spend years believing that our careers are supposed to be linear, and we map out that next move or that next promotion, next opportunity and milestone. And while that's great, sometimes life throws us a bit of a curveball. But what if that curveball isn't the end of the story? It's really an invitation to write a newer one, a bigger one, a better one that is so life-giving. So welcome back, everyone, to the show. We're so happy that you're listening. And as you know, that this edition is all about where we explore the courage to redefine success, embrace change, and build lives and careers that are aligned with who we are internally. So today's guest, Candice, is someone who I've had the privilege of working with for a lot of years. I got to partner with Candice, which was always some of my best time at Google. And I truly, truly mean that. And since then, she has built an incredible business called Tahoe Dog. And it's grown on a loyal community around it. And perhaps most importantly, it's redefined what success means for her own terms. So we're so excited you're here. And let's just start at the beginning, girl. If someone had told you that the Google Candice would one day be living in Tahoe, running Tahoe Dog, building this business that looked nothing like what you had before, I don't think you would have believed them. So take us back. How did you get here?
I don't think I would believe it. And I don't think she would know who this person is, honestly. I mean, I never even had a dog before I started coming back to Tahoe.
Okay.
I never had the dream of moving to Tahoe. It was never like, hey, when I make it, I'm going to move to Lake Tahoe. It was never that. So this is a life that I could not have designed because I didn't even consider that many of these things were possible. So I think Google Candice would just kind of look at that and wonder what was going on. But what I like to think is that she might, it might spark some sort of curiosity for her. Wait, maybe there's another way of doing things. And maybe it might start her ruminating and thinking about what else is possible. Because when I was at Google, when I was in corporate, I had my kind of definitions of success very clear in front of me. It was my performance review, my compensation, what people were saying about me, how I compared to other people on the team. And that was the plan. I was very happy in that world that I was in. I loved most of my time at Google. And I was really happy. I was learning so much. I was surrounded by great people. And I don't think I ever would have said, hey, there's an alternative to the life that I'm leading. Why would I do that? I'm living a great life. So when all of this happened, it really helped me think about, wait a minute, I don't have all the answers. There might be an alternative. There might be a different road, a turn in the road for me. And, what could that be?
And I love this too, because you were really good at what you did at Google. I'm just going to say that for a minute. You were very good at what you did. You ran a very tight ship. Candice was in marketing. I was in sales. They just always over delivered. And it just was, you were very good at that and a joy to work with. And so I just want to give honor to that. So talk us through though, how that story ended, how that chapter ended, and then catch us up to today.
Yeah. So I do think I was performing very well at Google. I was really proud of the work that I had done and the partnerships that I had made and everything that I had learned. And I was always a great performer. And then one day, out of the blue, I remember it was a Friday. I was in the bedroom across the way, woke up very early and looked at my phone, kind of, groggily realized I couldn't get into my email. I was kind of tapping around and got a text from a friend of mine. And that kind of sparked, wait a minute, I can't get into my corporate email. What's going on? And then I looked in my personal email and I had been laid off. So not just me, it was thousands of people. I was not in a unique situation. Like I said, thousands of people across the US had been laid off. It was the first time that Google had done layoffs, and we were the first round. So I, obviously was kind of flabbergasted by the whole thing. And I turned to my boyfriend and I said, I think I just lost my job. And he took a beat and looked at me and said, isn't that a good thing? And I am for somebody that's not always the most positive person, my boyfriend, it was the most positive, optimistic, helpful thing anyone could have said to me in those moments after this massive, terrifying shock. And I'm just forever grateful that he said that I have someone that's supportive around me. And, obviously got on the phone with many people that day, but I just had to really reflect on what had happened and what were the pros and cons of it. But of course I was a little bit in shock. I gave myself a month to just kind of like literally take it all in, because I had been at Google for 11 years. I'd been in corporate for over 20. I'd been working constantly for over 20 years. And now I was, without a job, without a plan. I didn't know what was going to happen. I am thankful I had, a severance package. I had some resources to fall back on, but I took a month to really just let myself breathe. And then after a month, I said, okay, you're going to take a year off from job search, but you're going to spend that year looking into other things that might be just something you want to spend your day doing, not necessarily corporate or a job search or whatever, but like, hey, I want to go to the gym three to four times a week. I want to walk 10,000 steps a day. One of my favorite, especially since I was in Lake Tahoe, is I wanted to swim every single day of the summer. So I did that. I mean, and like, what a refreshing way to refresh your life, honestly. And you have this absolutely beautiful lake right outside, might as well take advantage of it. I had plans to, read a number of books, to reconnect with a lot of my friends and family. I ended up actually studying for and taking my real estate certification because I really wanted to focus on learning. So I just put a whole list of things together that when I looked back a year from that point, I would be proud of myself and not regret that maybe I'd sat on the couch all day, watching some TV, which is great as well, but I didn't want to only do that.
So many questions. And you're laying in bed, you get locked out. First, start with like as much as you're willing to share with the listeners, because I think we've all been through these really traumatic events. They might not have the same story as you or me, but we have traumatic events. What is going through your head after 11 years in that moment?
I don't even think anything. I think I was very much shocked. I was embarrassed. I was worried about my team and my projects and my coworkers. I was worried about who else had been laid off, but I also wanted to know who else was laid off, because I wanted to feel like I wasn't alone. I wanted to understand what had happened. Is there something that I had done? I wanted to know what I was going to do with my day. I mean, I had probably a whole stack of meetings planned for that day, and what was going to happen to that? What was going to happen to my business if I wasn't running it? Were they canceling my business? Were they moving it to somebody else? I wanted to know who had made the decision. I wanted to know who knew, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I had some coworkers' names and numbers in my phone, but I had worked at this company for 11 years. My Google Mail, my Google, my Google Calendar, my Google Contacts, everything. I had a lot of personal stuff even, which you're not supposed to do, but I had a lot of personal stuff on my Google account. And oh my gosh, it's so funny too. This will derail us just a sec, but I had literally finished my resume within the week prior and downloaded it and saved it to my personal computer, literally days before. How funny is that? Because I was like, well, I probably should have my resume updated, but that was an example of something that I had done on my Google account. And it just happened that I had saved it and put it on my personal account a couple days before. But I mean, I was going through so many emotions because none of this was expected. Google had never done these layoffs, and I had never thought as a strong performer that I would be in the mix. But of course, the layoffs were not about necessarily how well you performed. So I think I was just going through a lot of things. And my boyfriend is not from the corporate world. And it kind of almost took that simplicity of, it's just a job. Isn't this a good thing? Like, you will have other opportunities. I believe in you. Like, it took that positivity to kind of put me in the right mindset. And then, believe me, the first call I made was to my financial advisor to talk to them about, like, how things were. And I'm really grateful to them because they helped me like take a deep breath that morning before I don't know, conquered the day of all of this craziness with calls coming in and calls going out and trying to figure out what was next.
It's so funny. So some of the things that like I collected there, and I thank you for being so vulnerable because this is so real. We go through these big, word embarrassed. I remember, Candice, when I got cancer, I was embarrassed. I'm like, literally, I was like, this is so embarrassing. Why? It's your health. Like, this is not a reflection on you or any of those other thousands and thousands of people, but that is an interesting thing. That is a real emotion that comes to us when it's these traumatic. That I don't think it's enough like street cred. Like because we are worried about what other people think, and or we're worried about like, gosh, I tried so hard at this thing, like I've done so much, and like it does feel like this like disingenuous, like unjust thing, and we want to understand it, and so we seek to understand. And so I love that you shared those words, and also like my community and like what's going to happen with them, and then the simplicity of what is my day going to look like, because that just shows the level of these corporate environments or environments, and not to say bad or good, because I think it served me very well a lot of years, and probably you too, is the rhythm and the regularity and the amount of things going on in a day at a place like Google. Like I'll hear, no offense to other people that I might hear in a co-working situation, they're on these phone calls and I'm like, oh God, get to the point. Because at Google will be like, boom, boom, boom. All right, that was a 5-minute meeting. Let's go. That could have been an email. Like it's just the amount. And so I love this, like, what does that mean for our day? And what if we just woke up and gave ourselves that day anyway, sometimes, listeners, like just to give ourselves the day? Because I think, I don't know about anyone else, but I have to be like sick and worn down and broken down to be like, I'm going to have an empty day. Right. And so I think that's an invitation. Like, what if you had an empty day? Like, what would you start to do? And so I love that your boyfriend then gives you this gift of, well, isn't this a good thing? And I would love to know, like, two, I'm going to double question you, which I don't usually do. But number one, like, why do you think he said that? And number two, how did then you get to the arc of, okay, I'm going to take a full year to do this stuff?
I think he said that because, so essentially at the end of my Google career, I was struggling with a lot of anxiety and it was keeping me from sleeping. I had started to see a therapist. I'd started to see a coach, and I'd honestly started questioning, like, what happens if I don't want to be at Google anymore? And that's why I had my resume and I had updated it. And so he had watched me go through that for several months, probably about 6 months at that point. And I think that's why he said that. I think he also, I think he asked about the severance situation. And I said, yes, there's something there. Of course, like, I'm not comprehending what it was at that moment, but I said, yes, I think I'm okay for a little while. And I think he put those two things together and said, that sounds like a good thing. And that was, like I said, I mean, that moment was so representative of the way that I needed to look at things. And I am so grateful that he said that rather than kind of like picked up on my own like scaredness and worry and concern. And he just said the way he felt. And that's who he is. And then that also does tie into the year. I mean, the tech world had just begun their layoffs, and they did not stop. The layoffs were, they continue actually to this day. So my layoff was in 2023, and they continue. They're happening all the time. And so I think I saw that and knew that it might not be the best time to go back into corporate and to look for a job. And I also had my severance package, and I had moved to Lake Tahoe at that time. So my expenses had really reduced from when I was living in San Francisco. And so I was in a very good position to say, I have a year. I can take a year to refresh, to get my mental health back, to get my physical health back, to lean into Lake Tahoe, to take this opportunity to be in this absolutely beautiful place while I figure out what's next. And I think he saw that maybe before I did. So
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of a mirror. When I finally decided I was going to leave, and mine was a little bit different, but my job kind of like got reorged out, and so I could move to a different country and keep my job, or I could find another job. And as I was looking around after my mental health leave, I was like, I don't want any of these jobs. I just like don't. And I remember telling my husband, and I was like, I think I'm gonna leave Google. And I thought he'd be devastated because I was by far the breadwinner. And he said, good, I think it's killing you. That's what he actually said to me. And I was like, well, you could have said that sooner. Let's start there, but like whatever. And but I say that to be like, we can be power badass. We can swear here on the show, power badass women, and it's really great to have people in our life, whether it's a spouse, a best friend, a business partner, a coach, a therapist. Have a team of people, like you just said. I got a team of people. Have those people be your team because we need that, and we need that mirror back in our face to be like, oh wow, you're right. This is actually a good thing, and so. Okay, so then we take a year, like it's so luxurious and yummy, and start to like
You're
invest.
in Lake Tahoe as well.
Yes. Okay, so you move out of the city, you get rid of your place there, now you're full time in Tahoe, and you told us a little bit about that year, but what else would you want us to know about that year for someone that's like, I want to take some time, whether they're allowed to take a week or a year or whatever month? Like, how did you plan that out, and what were you thinking about in terms of that block of time?
Well, the simple answer is I am a spreadsheet person. I did make my to-dos in a spreadsheet, and I kept coming back to that spreadsheet to figure out what else I needed to do. But what I want to actually share before that is I think I may have manifested my layoff. I am a manifester. I speak things and they happen. That does sound a little crazy and a little magic, but I have a girlfriend who's very into all of those things, and she tells me that I am a manifester. So it's so wild. So in January of 2022 is when I closed on my cabin in Lake Tahoe. And then I started getting feelings later that year that maybe Google wouldn't be the right place for me much longer. So I sold my house in San Francisco in December of 22. So in the same year. January of 2023 is when I was laid off from Google. So within a year, that all changed. And even within that year, a month after I bought my cabin in Lake Tahoe is when I met my boyfriend. And he is the one that brought a dog into my life as well. And they moved in later that year as well. So, January 2022, I'm living in San Francisco. I'm working for Google. Have this big job. Fast forward 1 year later, I have a boyfriend and a dog living in my cabin, and I've sold my house in San Francisco, and I don't have a job anymore. I mean, it's absolutely insane to think that like all of that happened in that very short period of time, but literally my entire life changed. And so I think that luxurious year, I just think I gave myself the permission to experience Lake Tahoe, to kind of reset my life, to get my health back together, to, take every day to go for a hike with that dog. His name is Steven, which is ridiculous. And I think that, to me, that's actually the beginning, which we'll get to, but the beginning of introducing this Tahoe dog culture to me, because these Tahoe dogs, they live the best life. They're hiking, they're swimming, they're at the ski resort, they're hanging their heads out of the truck. They're with their humans all the time, and they go off leash everywhere. They play with all the dogs. And this dog was with me through this, regenerative year of my life, and kept getting me up off the couch to go for a hike, to go for a swim, and really showed me that this beautiful, magical place that I now live in is to be explored and adventured, and don't miss out on this opportunity you have for a beautiful year of, refreshing your life.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so much goodness. Like I'm there in your living room, girl, with the dog being like nudging you, like, let's go. And there's so much there, but I love that you said, I love a good spreadsheet, which I know about you. You run a tight ship and a great ship. But also I'm a manifester. So I like to like invite people to know, like, you can be both. It can be and. It doesn't have to be like Candice is like locked and loaded with the spreadsheet and she's super corporate. It's that, and like manifesting is a little bit woo woo, and girl, I'm here for it. I'm looking at my vision board right now.
Yes.
You can be both. You just have to be open to it. And so I love that. Okay, so then Yeah, let's get into the Tahoe Dog stuff because there's so much greatness. And so this season on Pod, we're talking about Fierce. So and so it's an acronym because we love a good acronym. And Fierce is about filling your cup. And so one of the things that really hit me when we reconnected recently and that admire so much about you is that you designed a life around well-being now instead of squeezing your life into work. And so you've often said things like, I get to choose my life every day. Like that's my definition of success. What does that actually mean? So walk us through an ordinary Tuesday now as the owner and operator of Tahoe Dog.
Yes. So, well, yesterday was a pretty epic Tuesday, I would
Okay.
have to say, because I was kind of letting myself relax a bit before this podcast. And the early parts of my week are usually more about like at home work and things like that. So, yesterday I took my dogs on a really long hike in the morning because that was a refresh day for us. And I wanted to make sure that they got all their exercise in. And it's very hot here. So we took a very long morning walk. I did a little bit of work in the morning as well. I'm a morning worker for sure. So just simple things like following up with my suppliers and checking on our finances and replying to emails and looking at the priorities for the week. I helped my neighbors with a bunch of things yesterday. So it turns out a lot of my neighbors are here right now. And I was helping one of my neighbors with something. And as I was walking to her house, I ran into all the other neighbors. So that was a really wonderful, just
It is
very
wonderful.
Americana type experience. And then I actually went for a swim with one of my dogs and I'm teaching her to swim. So she was wearing her little life jacket and learning how to swim by herself and all that kind of stuff, which when you're out there on the lake and we know about a couple private beaches near us. And I'm out there by myself, literally on this beautiful beach. And she's learning how to swim. And it's an epic day again in Lake Tahoe. So, and I was swimming as well. So that was incredible. And then, came home and did a little bit more work. And then my boyfriend came home and we made dinner and went for a bike ride. So it was a pretty epic day. Now that's not my normal day. Today I have a very busy day, so I did take the dogs for a very short hike this morning, did a lot of work before I did this podcast. This afternoon I actually have a farmer's market. So sometimes I do 2 to 4 farmer's markets a week during the summer because that's really the high season here. So today I leave at 1 to set up for a farmer's market an hour away. At
Okay.
2, and the farmer's market is from 3 to 7:30. Then I take down and I get home around 9:30. So, today's going to be a busy day. It'll be hot and it'll be talking to a lot of people, which I'm great at, but also drains me. So kind of like you said, you can be multiple things at once. People think I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert, but I can function as an extrovert, but I will be tired. And then tomorrow I wake up and do one at 8 a.m. as well. So it's going to be and the rest of the week is going to be busy. I may or may not do one on Friday. I'm like on the wait list. And then I might go see my folks down the hill this weekend. So it'll be a busy rest of the week, but all things that I can either, do or not do and, choose what to do with my day and how to balance it.
Wow. It sounds very different than a life in San Francisco, right? Like very different.
Very different, thinking about what size pop-up tent and how much money to spend on a pop-up tent and all these. It's really wild how different it is from corporate.
Yeah. I know you're bringing over so many skills, right? Like the marketing and the business mind and so many of those things. And so how do you deserve what fills your time? I'm always trying to be like, I want to do it all. What deserves my time? And that includes my kids and that includes like exercise time and book time. And so how do you think through now on your days? And that was a beautiful day you painted. And I know every day is a little bit different, but how do you figure out as an entrepreneur where you're going to direct your energy and your time?
And right now this is pretty heightened because it is very busy in summer. So my priority right now is just maximizing summer sales of our products and, going to events where that is going to help me or visiting potential wholesale clients where they need a refresh of their products. So really that's my number one priority is how do I maximize summer sales? And so these events and client visits really get the focus of my time. And then everything else is kind of maintenance and preparation, but then also making sure that I'm refreshed and not exhausted because I do have these markets back to back. I need to make sure, like last Sunday was a beautiful day, but I had just done 3 markets in a row. So we literally didn't leave the house. And I actually wrote down when we were talking about earlier, like on my personal scorecard, I have a line item for how many days off did I take that week. And
Mm.
because I want to make sure that I'm not just setting myself up for failure by just, beating myself every week and making myself exhausted. I watched that happen in corporate and can see now that mental health and physical health is such a big component, not just of your ability to do your job, but your ability to live your life for as long as you can and in a happy way. And so I'm trying to make sure that I stay as healthy as possible, even while I'm building this business. And so really making sure that everything is balanced throughout the week and taking a day like yesterday when I know I'm about to have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right back to back is very important to me. And I want to make sure that as I build the business, maybe the business becomes very successful. And when it becomes very successful, I want to make sure that I'm not setting myself up to need, all of this support mentally, support physically that I did when I was, having a rough time at Google.
Yes, it's so good. It's so true. It's like I'm hearing you say, and I talk to my kids about this all the time, having a well-rounded life, like I call it like a 365, right? Life. So it's like 360, like just make sure that there's family, there's friends, there's boyfriend, there's homework, there's right. And so I think that that's the key to it. It is always hard for me to think about balancing it perfectly at certain times because it ebbs and it flows. But I love this. Like what I'm hearing you say is you're paying attention to it. You're paying attention and you're being very intentional about what you're doing with your time and in terms of like your full body, health, soul. And I think that often comes last for a lot of us when we are working at high burnout jobs. And it is really the most important thing because, we can't, so as cheesy as it is, we can't pour from an empty cup. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So I have more questions on this, like how you invested in yourself during that time. And I'm going to come back to that. But what I want to do here is I want you to give a little sales pitch on Tahoe Dog as I'm realizing the listeners might not really know what you're up to over there. And there's some pretty cool stuff. So talk to me about what the business looks like right now. And yeah, I guess kind of like what you built, what it looks like.
Sure. So the company's called Tahoe Dog, and we're a product company. So we make things for dogs and things for people. And it's all about celebrating that Tahoe Dog lifestyle. So people actually refer to their dogs here as Tahoe Dogs. Like,
I never knew.
oh, yeah, and I didn't either. Like, but, kind of immersing myself in that culture, I realized, like, people will be like, oh, she swims in the lake in January. She's such a Tahoe dog. Or he's off leash whenever I'm at work. He just roams around. Such a Tahoe dog, things like this. And so I realized there was this concept of Tahoe dog, but I looked around and there was no business like celebrating it with a brand of Tahoe dog. And so, and I loved that could potentially be this brand, this company that I could have that could be Tahoe related, could be dog related, could be marketing related, could be, all these things that I was interested in related. It's also very creative. I'd never really done something creative in my career. And so I saw this as an opportunity for a business and figured, all right, let's try it. Let's put some time into it. Let's do it for a year and see what's going on and see if it resonates with people. And it is. Like, I think that's the craziest thing to me is that I did find an idea that was worth doing and that continues to be worth doing. So, I can reevaluate this at any point and say, is this still a business I want to continue? And it keeps validating that it is. So I go to a farmer's market and people get it immediately and they want our products. I walk into a wholesale client and, usually I'm talking to a dog person, of course, and they get it immediately. And they're like, yes, I'll take 24 of those things. It is a product company. And then we also really lean into community and, the entire area here. So, a lot of our marketing is about just dogs. It's not necessarily about the products, or it's about the places you can take your dog here. And we even do like community meetups. So I have a partnership with the visitor center in town, and we did a community pack meetup for all the local dogs. And then this Sunday, there's a very popular dog beach here called Kiva Beach, and we do a dog meetup there every month. So ours is this Sunday, and it's in the evening this time because it's been very hot, and we're trying to avoid the tourists a little bit, but because it can be very busy down there. But yeah, so it's really this brand, this company, these sets of products that say Tahoe Dog on them and celebrate that lifestyle of a Tahoe dog or having a Tahoe dog.
Oh my God, I love this. Like, I want to be a Tahoe dog.
We all do. Many people say, I want to come back to life as a Tahoe dog. Like, that's another thing that you hear over and over here. And it is true. Like, these dogs have the absolute best lifestyles.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so many things. So how do you decide where am I starting? I have this idea. You're probably like having a coffee or a drink of wine with a friend or the boyfriend, and you're like, wait, hear me out. Because I know this is how it works for me. I'm like, hear me out. Can we build it on the moon? And some of my people that get me are like, yeah, girl, let's go. And other people are like, you're insane. So how does that how do you get kicked off? What are your steps that you take?
Well, so I started because I was making a poster of my dog, Sampson, and he
Okay.
was hiking this iconic trail here called the Rubicon Trail. And so I had him on the poster and it said Sampson the Tahoe dog. And then I realized, wait, there's something there. I could do a hat of like a golden retriever is very popular here. So I could do a golden retriever, in an iconic Tahoe location. And it could be this beautiful embroidered hat. And someone, of course, is going to wear it because they love golden retrievers. They probably have a golden retriever and they love Tahoe. They want to advertise, I am part of the pack. So that was my first product. And then I went into a pet store and showed them some of my things. And they go, do you have leashes and collars? I had not thought to do leashes and collars. And
Yeah.
so it was, and I just kind of laughed at myself a little bit because I was like, I'm a dog brand and I don't have leashes and
Right.
collars. I guess I better go get leashes and collars. So then that became what was next. And then I had like a couple products here and there. I was doing a holiday market last December. I don't even know if my leashes and collars are coming in time before the holiday
Perfect.
market. Who knows, right? You just hope that they are. And fast forward to now, I am working on our holiday collection for this coming winter. And we had a very successful year. We're profitable. I'm making more sales than the money I've put into the company. We are carried in 12 different hotels and retail locations around the lake. And like I said, I'm thinking about our first holiday collection and like planning for the next year. And we haven't even hit 1 year. We'll hit 1 year in about a month. I do a lot of prioritization. I have kind of a spreadsheet or a Word document where I just keep all of my different ideas and everything that I could potentially do. And I think about what I should work on what month. And I have a monthly prioritization spreadsheet. And, I just lay out the next 6 months. And as I come up with things, I place them in the right month. And that kind of helps me make sure that in, these busy summer months, I'm really focused on not just the things I have to do right now to maximize summer sales, but what else do I need to do? Like place all my holiday orders by September 1st. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, but it does help me, think about what's most important for me to do it in any moment. So.
Oh, that's so good. And I'm so rooting for you. And I'm loving this. Like, I just picture myself in that moment. I would have been like, of course I have leashes and collars. And then like, how do I get leashes and collars? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
That's
how
exactly what I did. So.
I love that. And so then how does it work and again, not everyone wants to open a store or a product, or they don't want to do service like me. Not everyone wants the same thing, but I do like to kind of break it down for people sometimes because I think people listening are like, I want to do a big thing, but I'm so overwhelmed. I don't really even know where to start. So if you think about like some of the small steps, like how do you decide on what you move forward with and like, how does that process work for you?
Well, like I said, I started with this idea and talked to a couple people about it. And I was just like, do you think Tahoe Dog could actually have legs as a brand? Got some feedback from them and people are like, oh, that's interesting. Like, no, there really isn't anything like that. But I also had to trust myself, like, hey, you know what you're doing. You have a business background. Like, if you think there's something here and you have the resources to go about it, then like, why not try? So then I figured out that first product, which was a hat, and I had to find a supplier for that and trust a supplier and trust
Trust is a
working with
big
them.
thing. How do you get the trust? Because
Huge.
that's the hardest thing, I think.
You have to take a leap because my first hat suppliers were offshore. I've since found a more local hat supplier, which is great, but that took me almost a year. And I found that by talking to other local businesses, by the way. But yeah, I had to trust this other hat supplier. It was very challenging. Those hats didn't arrive in time for the market that I was referencing. They took a long time. I think my first hat took 4 to 5 months to arrive. And that I had probably started, I don't know, thinking about it in like July or something. And then it didn't come until early this year. But I started with that product. And then I thought about, okay, what would be another product that could be good? And I think I thought of a bandana, which is a much simpler product. And that one came in more quickly. But I had many questions about that product. Like, was it going to be something design-wise that people wanted to buy? Was it going to be too big for many dogs? Was it up to snuff in terms of quality? All those types of things. What should I price it as? And I just had to say, like, let's just try it. Like, let's just get it out there, see what people think, see if they buy it for that price, see what the feedback is on it. And I just had to do that with each additional product. Okay, now we're doing leashes and collars. Collars you have to choose a size for, by the way. You can't just choose a collar. Like, you have to I think I started with large, and then people are like, that's too big for my dog. Okay, then I had to go get medium. Like, there are all these little things that you don't think about. I had lots of feedback from people. Oh, you should do shirts, you should do sweatshirts, you should do all these things. And I had to prioritize, like, those would be a larger investment and they're not really dog related. So what's more important than doing those things, like, right now? And what's more important for me to spend my money on right now? Because you could do all of these things, but you don't have the time, you don't have the money, you don't have the energy, like, you don't have the customers. Like, you have to really think about, like, what are the things I need to do to start? And then also, like, that first market, I was terrified of that first market. I was afraid my technology wouldn't work. I was afraid people wouldn't like my products. I was afraid no one would come to the market. Did I have the right size table? Should I go buy another table? I don't think I had a sign even at that point. But that market got me to the next market. And I felt so much more confident for the next market. And I was able to gather, like, customer emails and say, hey, I have this hat coming. You have a golden retriever. Let me email you when the golden retriever hat comes out. And then same kind of thing. Like, I had a feeling that it wouldn't just be online customers, that I would also need to approach potentially wholesale clients. So I started thinking about what were the stores in town that might buy my products in bulk. And I did 2 years of sales when I first got out of school.
Okay.
And I relied on that. I made my spreadsheets and prioritized them and thought through, how I was going to go about approaching each of these clients. But the other crazy thing is everything here is in person versus everything in corporate is via email and remote. And you don't always meet the people that you work with. And that's totally fine. Everybody can communicate very easily. But here, everything is in person. So I walked into these potential wholesale clients cold. And I've got my affirmations, I'm sitting in the car reading my affirmations, telling myself I can do it. I have a great product. I just need to go talk to people. And it was really scary at first, to put yourself out there with this idea and see if people would pay you for it. And I vividly remember one client that I went to. It's kind of like a local Ace Hardware. And luckily I walked in, the woman was French Canadian. I speak French. She's of course a dog lover. And she immediately said, yes, I'll take this, 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 and this. And to this day, it's been my largest order that's ever been placed. And it just showed me, like, proof of concept. It works. People want what I have to sell. I just have to go through the motions. So just keep going was kind of the point. And then I did my next market and my next client, and I kept coming up with new ideas for who to approach. Hotels, dog-friendly hotels. I just started speaking to local realtors for closing and welcome gifts for their clients that have just bought in Lake Tahoe and might have a dog. So it's just such an interesting, like, very one foot in front of the other type experience. And yes, I would say I knew I could learn. I knew I could speak to people. I knew I had an idea, but every little step along the way just kept, helping me learn more things and giving me more tools and confidence along the way.
I love that. And I love that you shared, like, you were scared and you didn't do it anyway. Because I'm picturing, again, not to be like too Google of us, but, like, I'm picturing back to when we worked together. And I mean, your budget had to be, I know I was running a $1 billion business. So sometimes a $2 billion business. So I've got to imagine your budget was pretty hefty, right?
Yeah, you can say to the audience, think of what you would think the budget is and probably like multiply by 10.
Exactly. And now I'm picturing you. Do I have the right table size? Do I have the right tent size? Because you know what it is? You care, and not that you didn't care, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think when it's something that you deeply, deeply care at, and you're building it from nuts and bolts in your own hands and your own work, it is so much scarier. I always tell people, I'm like, I was in sales for 25 years. Selling myself has been one of the hardest things I've done. Again, billion-dollar business, I'm too afraid. I'm just going to say it right on the pod because I'm going to make myself accountable with you, Candice. I've been too afraid to walk into my own Barnes & Noble in Northville, Michigan, which is not that deep, as my teens would say, and ask them to sell my book. I've not had the guts to go do it because I'm too afraid because it's so scary. But what are we afraid of, everyone? Like, why is that holding us back? So I love this. You're getting me pumped up. It's like, do it anyway, right? If the tech fails, the tech fails. Guess what? I get paper and pen out. If the hats don't show up, guess what? It's going to suck because I'm going to have to ship it to you. But maybe I get to drop it off to you. And now we get to have that moment together that we wouldn't have had. And I think just like not over engineering things and being able to be fluid with things. But I think it's more scary because our heart is so in it. Do you think that's correct?
Definitely. It was really hard for me to go out there and say and like explain to people the new business and like, because I had to tell people that I was starting this business, especially Googlers and my like former corporate friends and like coworkers. I was really nervous to tell them because I was so used to running this huge business and having this huge budget and working for this very well-known company. And then I'm telling people, oh, I have this small business and, sales are in the thousands, like things like that when I'm first starting off. And I was like kind of uncomfortable with telling people this because it wasn't that same definition of success that we had before. And even like around here, I think around here I was a little bit more comfortable like introducing it to people because they weren't necessarily from Google, but even like I'll see my neighbors and friends at farmers markets and it is a little different for me to kind of have this like salesperson client or salesperson customer on this very small scale, at least for now, experience, and especially compared to my previous, let's say, numbers. And I think that bothers me a lot because I think that like when I was thinking about this podcast and this definition of success, like it just bothers me that the way that I had thought was the only way to define success and achievement was this like societal, career progression, promotion, compensation way of choosing your scorecard, if you will. And like, I just think that it's very easy to get wrapped up in that societal corporate scorecard and define yourself as achievement oriented based on that. But there are so many other ways to define success. And like, I think that I'm so proud of having built something now, literally from scratch, from the nuts and bolts, and I completely own it myself. And I get to decide where it goes. And like you said, my success and my happiness is not just about whether I get a promotion or even whether I grow the business to X amount. It's much more about, being part of this community and contributing to it. It's much more about, did I hike today? Did I take the dogs to swim in the lake? Did I, spend time with my loved ones? It's about this bigger definition of, is my life representative of the life that I would design for myself, and how do I make those choices rather than just like, am I getting a promotion this round or next round or ever or what have you. So I wish that I had been more proud of myself to start off, because I do think it's an amazing thing to start a business, and it isn't easy, and it is not easy, and it won't continue to be easy, but I think that it's just a totally different achievement to do something like that. And I'm really proud of it now, and I'm getting really excited about it. And I have some people in my life that can see, that achievement and be impressed by it. I have other people that like, I don't necessarily feel like they get it, or maybe they're, jealous or something like that. I'm not really sure, but I think it's, even if I don't know, even if I do this for a couple of years and I decide it's not what I want to keep doing, like I will have started a business and built a business to profitability and done all the things related to it. And that's probably the best education business wise I could ever have. And I'll always be able to point to it as an achievement. So
It is so true. I always think about this like definition of success thing, and we only get one life, and we're all chasing. And I do think you got to do what you got to do to pay your bills and to get your family where they need to be. And obviously, like that, those things set us up for success, and making smart financial decisions and all of that stuff. But I think the freedom to be able to try to build something on your own, I do think it is like nothing else. And I do think it's also like there's going to be people in your corner that you thought would be, and then they're not. And then there's going to be people cheering you on, giving you your biggest order that you're like, I don't even know who you are. And here you are, like taking this like huge like investment in me. And that's like so powerful. So I love this notion of and trying it, see how it goes. But I can see in you, and I just had this moment today, and this is funny because I can see in you too. You're like, and I'm starting to get really excited. The coolest thing about owning your own thing, to everyone that'll listen, even if you're not getting the big paycheck you got at your corporate American job, is like, what if this really takes off? Like I got this someone set me up with this opportunity day for this huge speaking gig, and I may or may not get it, right? But then my feeling was like, ooh, maybe this is really going to be taking off. And there's something really cool about being like, I knew this when it was a tiny little idea over coffee. And now it's like, here we are, and Tahoe Dog is in all of the places you want to be, and all of the expansions happen, and all the success based on how big you want it to be, or you might want to go depth and all of that good stuff. So I completely agree. Okay, so what are you most excited about in the future in the last couple minutes we have? What do you got going on? What's next for all you're doing?
I did mention it a little bit. I am really excited for holiday.
Yeah.
Like I particularly designed a handful of products and literally said to myself, like, what would be Tahoe Dog holiday products that people would want for their dogs, that the hardware store would want to carry, that the dog friendly hotel would want to carry, and like celebrate that their dog is a Tahoe dog. So we have some, those trapper hats that have like folds over the ears and they're like black and red plaid. We have some of those. So that's probably the product I'm most excited about. I'm not a big like dog like clothing person, but someone suggested like a hat for a dog. And I was like, okay, what would be like the most Tahoe Dog type hat? So I think that'll be really fun. And I am really excited to celebrate our first year. Like, I can't believe that it's going to be next month. And I'm just like, well, what am I actually going to do to celebrate our first year in business? And when I had started Tahoe Dog, it was like, let's give it a year and see where we're at and decide whether we should keep going. And like right now, I really feel like we got to keep going. There's so much more to tap into here. And I'm still coming up with new, revenue channels. And so I think that's the most exciting. And then I also think this idea of really representing the community is very important to me. So I don't just want to be a retail brand. I want to also, have events and have partnerships with the local dog organizations. So we're already working with our Humane Society, and that's really fun. They were one of my first clients. It's really how I got kind of started with the dog community here. And so I'm very honored that they are partnering with us and that I can continue to work with them. And they'll absolutely be, when we get to a point where we're donating money, they'll absolutely be the first place that I write a check to. One of my dogs is from there too. And then the ski resorts actually have avalanche dog search and rescue teams here. And one of our products features one of those avalanche dogs, Moxie. He's a black lab. And we're going to do more with that. So I'm going to have more dogs featured that are part of our heroic search and rescue avalanche dog teams at the ski resorts. And we'll work with them, hopefully, on some fundraisers throughout the winter as well. And we're also affiliated with kind of this carnival festival, winter festival here in North Lake Tahoe called Snowfest. And we do a dog pull like these dogs pull these empty kegs. Yeah, it's so much fun, and that benefits the Palisades Avalanche Dog Team. So I think that's, that community, that getting back involved in all the things that like really enrich the Tahoe dog community is something that I'm very much looking forward to, so that we're not just, products, but we're also representative of this really rich and strong dog culture here too. For me, that's just so cool that I could have this company that also reflects my community and my culture and my neighborhood and my friends and my family and my dogs and like all of these things that kind of helped me build a life in Tahoe, that I can, really be part of that life. I mean, I only moved here 5 years ago. And so, I really want to be part of the community and part of the culture here. And so if I can have this business that does give back to that, that just really makes me feel like my roots here and my manifesting my time here has really become something more than I ever could have, truly thought of myself. So
I love that. And that's so good. We didn't get to go much into it, but Candice, in her year off, she spent a lot of time too in the community and like making just friendships and partnerships and volunteering. And you volunteered, I think, at the Humane Society, didn't you? Or am I making that up? Yeah, exactly. So again, I love that it's so authentic to you, like wanting to get really entrenched in your new home and the new culture. And then that kind of helped to integrate into the work that you're doing now, which is really so powerful. And my point is there, I think we're always like, I do work to make money to do this, to buy this thing. That's how we are all trained. It's no one's fault. And so this new world that you're in feels very much like it's like, I get to talk to my neighbor and they're a part of the community and maybe they're a customer, but maybe I'm selling them, maybe I'm not. It's just like, it's also organically part of like a human and dog. I think that's beautiful. And I think if we want things in our life, like what a beautiful life to be leading. And I'm just so freaking proud and excited for you that that's what you get to do. Okay, I'm going to do something new I've never done, and then I'm going to close this out. We're going to do a big energy rapid fire. And I didn't warn you on this, but so sorry, you're on the hot seat, but I feel like it'll be a fun one to try to test this out on. I'm just going to say, complete the sentence, and you're going to give me the last part of it. All right, are you here for it?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. All right, success is
waking up and deciding what I want to do with my day.
So good. Failure taught me
that I don't know everything. So I did want to mention this, like, I didn't plan this. This was not, I didn't say I'm going to get laid off and then move to Tahoe. Like my point with that is that what I thought I failed in, Google, being laid off, like that led me to a life that I couldn't have designed for myself. So I would have never like conceptually come up with this idea. It's kind of that whole idea of when a door opens or when a door closes, a window opens. Like you don't necessarily know what's best for you until maybe you're in it.
So real, so real. Okay, that's more than a sentence ending, but I'm going to give it to you because I think there's so many nuggets in there for everyone. Okay, I used to believe
that I had all the answers.
Now I believe
that just taking a step in one direction is enough for that moment.
So good. Google taught me
so many things, but I think the most important is to simplify the complex.
Tahoe Dog taught me
to get outside every day.
And the last one is one thing everyone should try.
Whatever they're interested in, just take a step in that direction.
I love that. So good. Okay, so I'm going to end here. Imagine Google Candice walks into Tahoe Dog today. She sees your business. She sees your community. She sees your happiness. She sees the life that you've built. What is the first thing that she says to you?
Who are you? I mean, like I kind of said at the beginning, I don't think she'd get it. Honestly, I think she was too wrapped up in her current reality. But I do hope it makes her a little curious about maybe an alternative path for her. The other answer is, should I get a dog?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I never, ever conceived of having a dog when I was at Google. It was an absolute no.
Yeah.
And I didn't dislike dogs. I actually really liked dogs. I just never had any idea that they should belong in my life. And I think having a dog really helps you think about the things that are most important. And that's moving your body, getting outside, being happy with your loved ones, taking a rest, keeping things simple. And I'm just so grateful that I had this dog brought into my life and help me reflect on what would be the healthiest place for me and day for me, and that dogs really do enrich your life every day.
I love that. My other question was going to be, and what do you say back to her? But I think you just said it, right? You said, do the thing. So finally, if there's anyone out there listening or watching right now whose future is not unfolding the way that you imagined, maybe you were laid off, maybe you didn't get the promotion, maybe life just simply took a different path, maybe a health thing, who knows? But if I could leave you all with one message, it would be this: like, just start in those small steps in those, and take a chance on yourself, and try, and don't be afraid to fail, and explore. And is there anything else, Candice, that you would add? Like, what else would you say if anyone remembered one thing from this podcast today and they're kind of in this precipice of what do I do? What would you tell them?
I would say list all the things that you'd be proud of a year from now, even if they're small steps, things you want to be involved in, things you want to do, and just take those small steps, and you don't know where it will lead you.
Love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel like now I need a Tahoe visit, so we'll do that after the show. We'll talk about that. And I got a Michigan dog, so maybe you'll do a Michigan thing eventually. I don't know, we don't call them that, but that's pretty cool. And then lastly, I would say you can connect with Candice. Candice will. Okay, perfect. And so we'll put all of that in the show notes, listeners, so that you have that available to you. Please reach out because she's amazing, and I'm sure she's got all kinds of great stuff to share with you. But thank you again for being on the show today.
Thanks, Stacey.